Hey everyone, welcome back to the Collector's Compass, the official podcast of Collectors MD, where we explore the intersection of collecting, mental wellness, and responsible engagement across every corner of the hobby. I'm your host, Alyx founder of Collectors MD, and today's guest is someone I'm very excited to bring on, not just because of the platform he's built, but how he's built it. Mark Hill is the founder of My Card Post, a one-of-a-kind subscription-based no seller fee trading card marketplace that's grown to nearly 16,000 users and over $4 million in transactions, all without taking a single seller fee, pushing predatory mechanics, or compromising on ethics. Mark returned to the hobby during the pandemic, saw the complaints everyone had about eBay and other hobby marketplaces and their associated fees, bans, and the lack of true community and transparency. And instead of just talking about it, he built a solution. My Card Post is the definition of built for collectors, not off collectors. Today, we're talking about ethical marketplaces, bootstrapping in a hobby full of venture-backed platforms, the dangers of gambling-style mechanics in the hobby, and the shared mission between My Card Post and Collectors MD to create healthier systems for collectors. Mark, it's great to have you, man.
Alyx, thank you. Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Awesome. All right, Mark, let's dive right in. I want to start from the beginning. So segment one, we're calling why My Card Post exists. So when we connected last week, you mentioned that My Card Post really came out of frustration, not just with the fees, but how impossible it was to build authentic communities on these bigger platforms. I mentioned eBay. Obviously, there are dozens of others. And so why don't you walk listeners through that moment? What did you see when you came back into the hobby during the pandemic that made you go, I'm building something different?
Yeah. I mean, look, I got back into the hobby around COVID times as a lot of us did. And I think, ultimately what spurred me to go down this path was just a lot of the walls and barriers and restrictions and challenges and complaints I just saw across the hobby on all sorts of, Reddit forums or whatever it may be. And also the challenges that I was experiencing myself. I just kept, running into situations. I'm like, why is it like this? Like, why can't I send a message? Why can't I connect with this person on social media? Why can't I share this? Why can't we trade? Why can't I put together a deal that includes cards and cash and like all the different things that people do at card shows? Like, why didn't an online marketplace exist that provided all of this unique features, flexibility, and value to the overall hobby community? And, I very quickly kind of realized that a lot of the reasons why these types of platforms didn't exist was because every marketplace is fee-based, right? They do a deal, it's transactional, it's anonymous. You don't really actually know who you're doing a deal with. It's just like, hey, there's a card, you buy it, the platform takes their fees. And, when you have that kind of revenue model, you realize that you need to protect the transactions, right? You need to ensure that they happen on platform. You don't want people getting to know each other and making friends and start doing deals directly. Like that would kind of hurt the overall experience of those different marketplaces. Anyways, right. That's the long-winded version of like where I ran into all of this. And then when I realized like, hey, if I could build a marketplace that was not fee-based and it was just pay a small fixed monthly subscription and go to town, that's when I really realized I had something because it didn't exist. I went out there. Usually, you think of like these creative, unique ideas and you go on Google and find out that, there's 50 of them out there. But in this particular case, I found that there was none. Nobody had done it before. And, after some months of just thinking about it, I decided to put one foot for the other and build it.
That's awesome, man. And, community specifically is everything in the hobby, right? Especially when you're talking about things like marketplaces, because the entire space is built on trust, relationships, shared passion, not these sort of faceless transactions, right? So when people buy, sell, and trade collectibles, they're not just moving pieces of cardboard around. They're sharing stories, they're taking risks, they're trading memories and interacting with strangers who could become actual friends in the hobby. Right. And that only really works when the environment itself feels safe, fair, and human. Right. So a strong community creates that. And what we've learned through Collectors MD is that community keeps people accountable. If you're part of a marketplace where people show up with their real names, where you see them in groups and comments and posts and deals, people start to behave better, right? The scams drop, the shady behavior goes away, because now it's not just like buyer versus seller, it's people in the same room trying to look out for each other. And so Yeah, I mean, community builds longevity, and anyone can create a platform, right? Not everyone can create a place where people actually want to come together to hang out, talk to each other, learn, grow together. And the hobby, survives when people feel connected, when they feel like they're more than just a number feeding a transaction or an auction timer. And honestly, community is what brings people back when the money dries up, when the market cools, when the hype of whatever product, player, manufacturer dies down. The thing that keeps the hobby alive isn't the next flip. It's the relationships that were built, right? The shared enthusiasm, the feeling that you're part of something bigger than cardboard, bigger than even your own collection. And so, again, a marketplace with no community just feels like a soulless vending machine of I
Yeah,
mean,
no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think again that kind of came back to what I was really focused on building here is like we're a platform where you can build relationships, you can make friends. I'm proud to say I've made hundreds of new friends through my card posts, people that I would love to meet in person, that I'm excited to meet in person. And you see this all the time on social media, giving people the opportunity to go and click on your social media account and follow your card business. It may not be your personal, like here's pictures of my kids and whatnot, but tons of people have their own card Instagram accounts, and being able to kind of grow those through a platform and participate in a community and build your reputation and have people follow you. It's no different than making friends and relationships at card shows where look, these are the first tables you seek out every time you go to a show, right? Because
right.
I've done deals with this guy. He's super fair. He's really great to talk to. We share the same interest or passion, or even players that we PC. There's tons of people I follow where we have very, very similar personal collections, right? And we've
Sure.
done deals with each other. Maybe I have two of something and I, make a deal for him, to have one, and then he has some, so you're building, relationships and rapport with people that you're going to be continuously doing deals with over and over and over again. And you're adding more and more friends to that equation as time goes on.
Yeah, really well said. And all of that is so true. And so when we spoke last week, you said something that really resonated with me. And it was that you didn't want to build another casino. You wanted to build a community, right?
Yeah.
And that's really rare right now. Everybody is just in it for the profit, the revenue, the money grabs. And
Yeah.
so why don't you talk a little bit about your decision to go subscription based instead of fee based? That's obviously a totally different business model in today's day and age,
Yeah.
especially today's hobby. So
Yeah. It's playing a different game. And I look, I think it just kind of is the type of person that I want to be, right? I want to be a good, honest, ethical person. I want to build things for the right reasons. And just, I want to give way, way, way more value than I receive, right? And that's just
sure.
kind of who I am in life as well. And I really just felt like the subscription model offered that to me, where it's like for $9.99 a month, the ROI that you're going to get in return for yourself, the benefits that you're going to receive through the platform are going to be extremely high.
Right.
The value ratio is way skewed in the favor of the collector and the hobby. I really set out to build this, and I said this from the beginning. It's like I want to build something for the hobby that serves the hobby's greater good, that serves the collectors, that gives them all the features and functions and capabilities that they would ever want in a platform, without trying to maximize the amount of money that I make, right? And that's just
Right.
not what I'm about. So yeah, I mean that really is just kind of fundamental pillars of the platform that we built, which was build something that did everything for the right reasons and that pushed all the value to the people that are using it, not to the person who built it.
That's awesome. I'm quickly sharing my screen so people can take a look at the platform. And so
Yeah.
I think the UX and the sort of design and aesthetic it's really clean. It's easy to sort of comb through and understand. And so let's touch on your subscription base. And so you have a few different tiers here. Obviously, there's a free tier. So
Yep.
any and everybody can come and check out my card post, and you don't have to sign up or pay the monthly subscription if you don't want to. But
That's
if
right.
you want to be able to access and utilize some of these additional features that we're going to get into in a little bit, there's obviously a few different versions. And so are there any here that really
Yeah.
make the most sense for like an entry level user, let's say?
Absolutely. Look, again, my card post is totally free to join. If you just want to buy cards from sellers and traders in our community. So it's free, right? The only thing between you and the seller is a PayPal goods and services transaction, really, at the end of the day. But if you want to list cards in the community, in the marketplace for sale or trade, then you do need to subscribe to one of our 3 paid plans here. And, the basic plan is designed to be that first little entry point. So for $9.99 a month, you can have up to 50 cards listed at any given time. And you can buy, sell, trade, multi-card deals. You can, buy cards yourself as well. And we also have some other features that are allow you to maybe like market your cards a little bit more, where you can repost them to the top of the marketplace a certain number per day, per month. You can run a certain number of auctions per month. And then we have our new PC showcase section, which is really a section built around cards that are not for sale or trade. These are our personal collections. These are the cards that we just want to put up for display for either our own personal, use, or to allow our community to browse people's personal collections. I'm spending a ton of time in here because there's some amazing cards on there. And you can converse and have conversations with people about their personal collection cards. So, by the way, that's a totally free feature for anybody to use. But we have some of our automation capabilities around, like, typing in a PSA cert and having the card auto imported. A lot of that stuff comes with some of our paid plans as well, some of those automation features. But really, the big differences in the plans are the number of cards you can have active at any given time, and then specifically to the number of auctions you can run per month. Where, obviously our all-star plan at $24.99 allows you to have unlimited cards on the platform. Really is our most popular plan. And that's the breakdown.
That's awesome. And a few things here to unpack. First and foremost is, if you're looking at this just in terms of saving money in the long term, $9.99 per month to list up to 50 cards and up to 5 per month. Like, let's just say hypothetically, you're the type of person who isn't selling in high volume. You have a PC and you like to refine that PC on a monthly basis, weekly, whatever the cadence is, and you sell, 5 cards at $100 a piece, right? If you're looking at eBay or any other platform, they're already taking, depending on your status as a seller with any of these platforms, you're looking at anywhere from 10 to 20%, right? Yeah. And so they're already taking $10 to $20 from one sale of a card at $100. So if you're selling 5 cards at $100 a piece in 1 month, you're essentially saving what, like $40 to $100? And that's only if you sell 5 cards at $100 each, right? We're not talking about selling $500 cards, $1,000 cards, and there's no limit too in terms of how much you can sell a card for, right?
And we have a full leaderboard. You can see how much money people are saving in seller fee savings on our leaderboard. I actually just posted a perfect example this morning. There was a LeBron James. Yeah. So these are our top fee savers, just in total amount of money saved in seller fees. You can see people are paying for their subscriptions 10, 20 years in advance. Mm-hmm. Their lifetime subscription is paid basically in 1 year of seller fees alone.
Yeah.
But there was a LeBron James Topps Chrome rookie card this morning that sold. It was a PSA 8. Comps are around 270 to 300 if you go look on eBay. Right. It's sold via auction on my card post for $295. And if you just do the math, right, like just that card selling for $295 on my card post, and if you just kind of assume that is the average sale price on eBay, that's a $35 to $50 savings that seller was able to keep themselves just by not having that 10 to 20% seller fees tacked on, right? I mean, we literally just have PayPal goods and services are between the buyer and you. Really, that's it.
Right. Yeah. And I love that you put top fee savers as like the first leaderboard of these 5. I mean, it's important. It's important to show people what they're saving in the long run when they're using a platform that doesn't take any fees versus something like eBay. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
$17,000 in fees saved. That's all money that would have gone directly back to the marketplace.
Those are PC cards that I was able to acquire because I didn't have that money lost.
Right. And how long have you been using my card post from a user standpoint?
I'm a power user, right? I've been using it since day one. So I had a little bit of an unfair advantage.
But even if you calculate it to include every month since day one, let's just do the math real quick. What was the first day that you started selling on my card post?
My card post launched November 17th, 2022. So we're our 3
Okay.
years today. Actually,
3
today. Oh
years.
my gosh, I forgot. Today's our
Okay.
anniversary. Yeah. So today,
So
3 years.
let's say, Mark, hypothetically, you were paying the All-Star subscription uh, every month for 3 years. So that's 36 months times 25. You would have spent $900 towards the subscription, right?
Well, it's less than that, right? Because
$900.
our annual plan is 20%. We've
Right,
just
right.
recently raised our prices. So yeah, it's probably closer to like 700 something.
Okay, so it's closer to 700. That is a fraction of the amount you saved for fees. So
Yep.
I'm just trying to kind of put it in layman's terms for our listeners as to how much more something like a subscription-based model makes sense for selling items in a marketplace than having to pay fees. So that's awesome. And then real quick, I just wanted to touch on the other feature that you mentioned, the PC collection. I think this is really cool. This is something that I think a lot of users on like eBay use, where they do want to showcase their collection and they do have a big following on eBay. And maybe they don't necessarily want to sell a card, but they want people to know that they own it. They want to
Yep.
showcase it in some capacity.
Yep.
And so what they do is they'll post it and they'll list it for an astronomical number that nobody would ever pay.
Yep.
Right. And then they get flack for that.
Yeah.
It sort of backfires. People reach out or repost it and say, how could this person ever have the nerve to list this $500 card for $15,000 or something ridiculous like that? Right.
Yep.
It's like, well, you don't really understand. The amount is arbitrary. He or she doesn't plan on selling that item for $15,000. They just want to post it within their store to showcase their entire inventory or collection. Right.
I had a conversation with Jeremy Leak a year or so back, and it was like, those are our not for sale prices. You know, if somebody truly wants to buy it, I'll let that go for my personal collection, but that's my not for sale price. And that's a lot of the reasons why, you know, this section was born out of the, you know, the ability to
that's what I figured.
Have a place where we can showcase these cards in our collection, share them with the community, engage in the stories behind the cards. And also, I feel, I mean, we just rolled this out to our mobile app like a week ago, and it like our, you know, I think we're probably closing in on like 3,000 cards in this section. But it's also going to become a place in the future where you go to see like, man, I've been waiting forever for this card to pop up. I've never seen it. Let me go pop over to the PC showcase section on my card post to see if it's sitting in someone's collection. At least I know where it is, right? That person may not want to sell it or trade it, and that's totally fine, but at least I know where it is, and I'm not just sitting there waiting, refreshing my saved searches every day.
Yeah, I'm thinking about how there are so many different platforms where people can sort of showcase their collection, but to have a crossover between a marketplace and a PC showcase is something I don't think I've ever seen. Some platforms, and we've spoken to quite a few of them, the Smarter Collector, Card Ladder. There's a new platform that just came out. We're talking to them as well, called Slab Track. A lot of these give you the ability to showcase your collection in some capacity, but you're not actually purchasing cards from that platform as well. And so it would be really cool in the long run if a lot of these different platforms could come together and sort of syndicate those PCs into one central hub. So to your point, if you want to check out what precious metal gem is this, Tiger Woods, purple Tiger Woods EMG, right? Which is probably pretty rare. You want to see if that exists in somebody else's collection. You can go to a central hub and it basically can pull from all of these different platforms to see or showcase PCs across the entire hobby. I don't know. That's just something that came to mind.
It's like that top level search. Like someone, I think someone actually is building something similar. I don't remember the name of it, but it's like, you know, you just go, there's one stop shop. You type in the card you're looking for, and it shows you, you know, it has APIs into all the different marketplaces and shows you if it exists somewhere and where.
Right. It exists in terms of like comp checking tools like 130 Point, Card Ladder, etc. But that aggregates sales, not people's collections. So I think
you don't know where it went either. I mean, you might see that the card sold, but to who? Where is it? Is it, you know, is it available for sale again?
Who owns it? Who's the current owner?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
From an intentional collecting standpoint, I think that would be really nifty if we could get to a point where, you know, it's less focused on like the dollar amounts and the volume and more focused on, well, like I like to collect. I want to know where this card is located or who owns it so I can maybe have a conversation with them about a private sale, making a trade, something to that extent. And if not, you know, I'd love to just know where that card is now, or like even a card that you once owned, that you cherished, that you sold or traded for whatever rhyme or reason, and maybe you miss it and you love to know who the current owner is. I've had many cards like that where I've moved on from for whatever rhyme or reason, and I'd love to know where a certain one of one is that I pulled myself, in a sentimental moment. Maybe it's a card that I
Yeah.
pulled with my dad or my brother, or during like a memorable event of some sort. It would just be really cool to be able to
I have
track
those as well. I've
track those sort of things.
reacquired cards I let go and then I
Yeah,
like had, seller's remorse and I needed it back, and I knew where it was and I was able to get some of them back. And there's others that
yeah,
I see out there listed that were mine at one point, and it's like, I would like to get that card back. So I mean, I definitely try to do that as well. And also, I think a lot of us will prune our personal collections. Like, hey, a card that may have meant something to me 3 or 4 years ago, maybe I've kind of like lost the association or the excitement about it, and now I am willing to move it, for the
yeah,
right price, or
sure.
maybe I want to trade it, use it as a trading piece into a different card that I care more about. So
Absolutely. I've reacquired cards as well that I've moved on from. And I think when we're able to, finally locate that card that you miss so much and that you wanted back in your PC, and you finally do, I think that sort of hunt, if you will, is even more monumental. It's even more rewarding than blindly ripping a box of wax and hitting a big card, right?
oh,
Because
absolutely.
it carried that sentimental value. It meant something to you. You missed it. You got it back. It just
Yeah.
carries so much more meaning and
Oh, yeah.
purpose when that happens. And again, I've experienced that, so I can
Yeah,
totally,
you might have, maybe you were the one who got it graded and it came back a 10. I mean, there's so many different
yeah,
reasons why we have personal attachments to different cards.
sure. Awesome. All right. So I got us off track a little
It's
bit
all
there, but I
good.
think there was a lot of value to share about the platform and some of these features. So I'm glad we pulled that up. All right. So on top of everything we just discussed, you bootstrapped my card post. And so there were no investors, there were no big corporate backings. You left your corporate sales job recently, is something
Yeah.
we talked about too. Doing things like living off savings and sacrificing a lot of time, effort, opportunity within your career to build something that you're passionate about from scratch. And
Yeah.
so I'd like to know, why was it so important for you to grow this independently instead of taking VC money like so many other platforms in the space do?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think it goes back to, wanting to continue to do things the right way, right? I don't want to ever be forced into doing something that, I perceive as like not ethical or not in the best interest of the community that we're trying to build. I just really, feel like, once you take money from somebody, they're going to want to return on that. They're going to want to have, creative control over where the platform is headed, and maybe they want to like triple our fees, and to do all sorts of things to
Right.
focus more on revenue than focus more on value of the platform. And I feel like maintaining that creative control, we can test and iterate and come up with ideas and do things quickly. And if they fail, whatever, we'll remove it. It didn't work. It's okay. I don't mind failing. But again, I really just want to make sure that we can kind of stay the path, right? Stay focused on giving our community and our users the best possible platform that we could build for them and for
Yeah.
their needs and their interests and their benefits. And the rest will take care of itself, right? I mean, the business will grow. Obviously, we're playing the long game here, right? This isn't an like print money and fees and get rich quick type thing. This is a slow, intentional growth strategy that we're on, trajectory that we're on, to try to build something the right way. And I just believe the power of the community, the power of the true collectors that we have in the hobby are going to continue to grow with us in this platform and bring their friends and talk about it more. And we're especially seeing that now, especially with the hobby awards that are happening right now and us being included in best marketplace, which is amazing.
It's awesome.
Just kind of seeing the socialization that's happening, the pride that a lot of our community feels, even some of the ones that were with us in the early days when it was bumpy, right? There was not thousands of people or tens of thousands of cards, or like there might be like one deal a day that happens, right? In the early days, it's hard, really hard to get something like this off the ground. And here we are 3 years later today. I actually didn't even realize it again. And it's pretty cool to see where we've come. And yeah, I just, I just want to wake up every day and be excited and passionate about what I'm doing. I didn't have that in sales, right? That, I kind
Yep.
of reached a point in my life where that career was hurting me more than it was helping me. Yes, it was providing for me financially and all that stuff, but I wake up every day super excited to, kind of tackle the day and talk about cards and work on the platform and continue our, new feature rollouts and talk to our community. I mean, I'm having conversations with 10, 15, 20 people every single day. So
Sure.
I just love what I'm doing. And I feel like, what more could you ask for?
Absolutely. And, that's one of the things I respect the most about what you build because, and I know we are much newer in terms of when we were founded, growth, success, all these things. I mean, Collectors MD is only 8 months old, but we are built with sort of the same values and morals. We've stayed independent on purpose. And
Yep.
the second you take something like VC money in this hobby, the mission just shifts entirely, right? Investors want scale, they want revenue, they want engagement at all costs, and suddenly you're pushed to sort of soften your message and avoid calling out certain behaviors like predatory systems, or turn your community into a monetization engine, right?
Yeah.
And so that completely goes against what we're trying to do. And so bootstrapping keeps us aligned with the people we're actually here to help, right? It lets us stay honest, stay mission first, and build with the community instead of building for investors or for maximizing revenue opportunities. So for
Yep.
us, independence isn't a luxury. It's how we make sure that the work stays authentic,
No
I've,
doubt it's the harder path, right? I mean,
right,
yeah. I mean, I mean, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't days where like, man, I wish I had a boatload of money in the bank so that I could do X, Y, and Z. Like, I don't have that, so I can't. So we have to be more creative.
right,
And yeah, I mean, growth, grow in a sustainable way that where we can kind of keep up with it, right? I don't want to have
right,
any sort of unsustainable explosion of the platform and then things just start breaking behind the scenes, right? I mean,
sure.
we want to be able to make sure that we can grow with the business as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. For me right now, it's just a matter of bandwidth. Like, I don't
Yeah.
have enough time in the day to basically tackle and address the number of projects and things that, I have ambitions to grow and scale in such a short time. So, I'm looking for any sort of help that I could get, like actual help from people without,
Yeah.
jeopardizing future opportunity and ending up in debt or anything like that. So it's really tough to be lean and nimble while also getting as much done and capitalizing on every single opportunity in
Yeah.
front of you. And
It forces you
so,
to prioritize, focus on, what's going to give you the most value, what's
right,
going to, what are the, most important things that we need to do, not the nice to have stuff. So yeah, I mean, it definitely
exactly.
forces you to think about things differently for sure.
Yeah. And I was just telling you right before we hopped on, we have so many things in the works right now. And we're super grateful for every opportunity that has come our way and all the conversations we're having with both industry leaders in the hobby, as well as the gambling awareness and prevention space. There's so many good things that are coming together that are formulating right now, but it's all happening so quickly. So we just
Yeah.
have to find the right balance, find the right cadence, and everything will work out. And it's a good problem to have. It's just it's a lot for one person to manage and just handle simultaneously. So
I get
um,
it. I mean, I'm
yeah,
mostly one person, but I have a couple people behind the scenes that do help
yeah,
me, and they're invaluable to to the things that we're doing on a daily basis. So yeah, I get it, man. I'm living and breathing the same pain as you.
totally. Awesome, man. Well, I think this is a good segue for our next segment, which is predatory mechanics versus ethical design. So let's talk about predatory mechanics because this is where our missions overlap a lot. You said when we connected last week that most platforms are just digital slot machines now. And honestly, you're 100% right, right? From the sudden death, 10-second auctions to panic bidding to people paying $250 for $12 card, it's just gotten completely out of control. And that's why they call the hobby the Wild West these days, right? So what
Yeah.
concerns you the most about the current landscape?
I mean, I think a lot of that's a big thing. I don't want to hurt anybody, right? I don't want anyone to feel hurt, using my platform and feeling like, oh man, like I way overpaid for that card. Like that's something that you don't forget. And I just don't ever want that experience to be, what our community of users find on my card post, right? Which, again, we have auctions on my card post, but they're not 10 seconds or 20 seconds. They're, 24 hours and 72 hours with extended bidding, on a per
Right,
auction basis, where if a bid does come in the last 60 seconds, we're going to give you 2 more minutes. We want you to have the time to make ethical, responsible, researched bids on these cards. I mean, the benefits the seller as well, right? We want, they obviously want to have their cards go for comps, or above comps is great and okay, but not 300, 400% over comps. Like
right.
that's not, I mean, it's great for the seller on a one shot basis, but from a long-term buyer perspective, I don't feel like that's the greatest overall experience for a buyer. And I feel like, they get burned enough times. Eventually they're just going to like maybe lose their interest in the hobby overall. And I would never want that for the community, right? We want to grow with people, coming in and having enjoyable experiences no matter where they buy or sell their card. So yeah, I mean, I think obviously the last, 12 to 18 months has definitely been a lot of shifting towards, repacks and those digital experiences and, yeah, I mean, kind of that slot machine type mentality, but that's not what we're focused on. And, I don't see us obviously going down that path, of course. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting, but, I definitely want to be one who participates in growing the hobby and being a platform that provides positive experiences for everybody. And, we're going to continue marching down that path.
Yeah, I really respect that. And again, that's one of the reasons why I think our missions are so aligned. You're kind of going in the opposite direction. You're going against the grain in a lot of ways, right? You're offering your customers longer auctions, the extended bidding. It gives them time to check comps and time to make informed decisions and make intentional decisions, collect with intention, which is what we preach. And so I think that structure is just so incredibly important for protecting collectors, offering things like fairness and time to think, transparency, not wanting $100 worth of cards to sell for $500, right? Like prioritizing healthy prices, healthy practices, and looking out for both the seller and the buyer.
Correct.
Right? So
that's important. Very important is that, and obviously you don't want the seller to be like, oh, someone sniped this thing at the last second. And then people who really wanted it didn't have time to be like, oh my gosh, I would have bid more. And, we don't want $100 card selling for $10, right? You want it to sell for 100 or 95 or 110 or, whatever, somewhere in a healthy range of value. Obviously with no seller fees on my card posts, cards could go for less and you still net more as a seller. That's the beautiful aspect of the platform that we built. But yeah, to your point, we want intentional, we want the buyers to feel comfortable with their bids, not like, oh, I panicked. I don't know. I just way overbid. And like that isn't something that we want to have on our platform. So we're doing our best to try to, and it's not perfect, right? I'm not trying to say my card post is perfect. There's always going to be room for improvement, new ideas or different ways that we can shape the features and functions of our platform. Auctions are new for us. They're only like, I don't even know, 3.5 months, 4 months old, maybe. So, we're still kind of, in uncharted water for ourselves because previously we were just fixed price. So, doing auctions was great. We feel that we have a very strong value proposition to offer auctions on our platform in a unique way that no one else can offer. But, we obviously want to kind of continue to tinker and improve the experience on both sides.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you're prioritizing the customer. You're not prioritizing the revenue. You're really looking out to make sure that the customer is being taken care of, both again on the buying and selling side, and we have very rare.
Well, and again, to that point, we have no incentives to the outcome of the card, right? We're not taking the buyer's premium. There are no seller fees. Like it doesn't matter if it sells for $100,000 or $100. Like nothing changes from the amount of revenue that the business generates from those transactions happening on our platform.
Yeah, it's really, really commendable. It's impressive that you've been able to find success with this model. Obviously, you're sacrificing a lot of opportunity to make some money, and you're replacing that with integrity and doing things the right way, looking out for your people. And I just can't tell you how much I respect that. Yeah, it really is awesome. So you touched on something that we talk about every day at Collectors MD, and that's the psychological pull. The dopamine, the panic, the shame. And when you combine all of that with predatory mechanics, a lot of what we're seeing on some of these other platforms, it creates conditions that feel identical to gambling, right? And again, when we connected last week, you talked about seeing this firsthand in your own family. I obviously have my history with being a recovering addict. And so how does that influence the way you build and operate My Card Post?
Very much so. Yeah. I mean, obviously I have, some family history with gambling and addiction in my personal family. So I'm quite sensitive to it. And so it's definitely something I don't want to do. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love buying a box of cards and opening with my kids and, the excitement about like the potential of what could be in there and, having amazing pulls. I did So I don't know if you guys, I follow golf, but Bryson DeChambeau, who's like, he's very much kind of navigated into social content creation. He did this whole like hole-in-one over his house challenge. Well,
Yeah,
I
I
kind
saw
of
that.
flipped the model and was like, well, what if I do the same? Because he added a shot every day, like day 2, 2 shots, day 3, 3 shots. So
Yep.
I was like, well, what if I did the same thing, but with packs of cards, trying to chase his rookie auto out of 2021 SP Authentic Golf. And it was super exciting. It was so fun to see. And I finally hit it on day 35, you know, which was a long time. And man, the excitement around like, you know, finally pulling that card that I was chasing was awesome. And then there's nothing wrong with that as long as it's being done in a healthy, you know, way where you're not mortgaging your, you know, you're not spending your mortgage payment or your rent payment or your, you know, your grocery, you know, money on these kind of cards. As long as you're doing it in a healthy, responsible way, I think it's totally fine. It just, you know, when it gets out of control, and it can happen for a lot of people without them realizing it. Obviously, you know, it's just so easy with the click of a button on our phones, just buy, and get instant, you know, instant gratification on the contents of the pack or the box, whatever it may be. So yeah, I mean, that stuff is worrisome for some people. And, you know, that's why I admire what you're doing here, which is to try to, you know, showcase that, raise awareness, and, you know, something that we want to be a part of, to just kind of continue to share, you know, the rip responsibly, break responsibly, you know, obviously there's like drink responsibly, right? We want to, you know, make sure that we're doing things in a responsible way. And I think, you know, that is very important. And I don't ever want to like kind of participate in any sort of like addictive type behaviors of people in our community. And so that's something I think about often. I really want to continue to focus on. But, you know, it's exciting to win an auction. It's exciting to take down a PC card. It's exciting to do a big trade and, like, you know, maybe move some cards that you're not as passionate about for cards that you're passionate about. And all that stuff is the same. It's the same dopamine hit. It's exciting, but it's slow. You know, it's like not this instant gratification of like, go. So
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's absolutely nothing wrong with chasing a card or ripping wax. That's part of what makes the hobby so exciting. It's a part of what's made it exciting for decades. Collecting has been around since what, the late 1800s, the early 1900s. Like, the problem isn't the rip, it's the relationship we form with the rip. And when you're doing it intentionally and you're making a choice, that's amazing. You're aware of the cost, you're grounded, you're having fun, you're not expecting something like cardboard to just fix a feeling or solve a bad day, right? You're ripping something because you enjoy the experience, not because you're just trying to outrun things like stress and boredom or a loss from earlier in the day or last week or whatever the case may be. The danger shows up when the rip stops being entertainment and enjoyment and fulfillment and starts becoming a reaction. That's when people start to overspend and chase losses or convince themselves that one more box will just magically make everything okay again. And that's when it crosses into this reckless territory.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Intentional ripping is just, it's just a healthier option. It means you're setting limits, you're sticking to a budget, you're deciding ahead of time what's fun and what's off limits. You're in control, not the adrenaline or the platform or the countdown timers. So yeah, like we say all the time, rip wax, have fun, collect with intention, chase a card if it brings you joy. Just make sure you're doing it mindfully and not just out of sheer impulse. That shift is just, it's everything. And we've seen so much success in such a short time from individuals who have started to adapt this sort of mindset, this lifestyle within the hobby.
I agree. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I can, you know, again, you're doing it as a form of like entertainment. I'm investing to have this entertaining and joyful experience. And it's no different than going to Las Vegas, you know, as an example, right? Like I go there like once every 5 years, and I'm not going there to think like, okay, I'm going to go put $500 down and I'm going to come home with 5 million. Like, that's not what's going to happen to me. I'm most likely going to lose that money, and I'm okay with it because I'm going to have, you know, hopefully kind of just the joy of experience being there, or taking my kids to Disneyland, or, you know, like going to an amusement park for the day or a water park. Like you're spending money for an experience. And I think that is okay. But, you know, to your point, when it gets out of control, or when you start doing things, you know, in a way that aren't healthy for your finances or your lifestyle or your personal relationships, that's, you know, that's when people can get into trouble. And I think it can happen to a lot of people without realizing it. Like it, you know, it has like a slow curve to it. But again, to your point, putting out content, you know, raising awareness, all of it is super important. And, you know, hopefully you can help a lot of people who really, and I've seen it, you know, with people in our community where, you know, they get lost for a little while and then they finally like have like a reset and be like, you know what, I was kind of like, you know, doing this stuff, and I had to just kind of check myself, take a break, and now I'm back, and I'm really focused, and that's
Yeah.
fine as well.
Yeah, it's awesome. And this is the perfect segue to our next segment, which is a partnership between Collectors MD and My Card Post, where we've been talking about this for about a week now. We want to do some responsible messaging together. And so one of my favorite parts of our conversation was just realizing how aligned we were, right? Not just in what we're building, but in why we're building it. And so when you look at Collectors MD and My Card Post potentially working together, what excites you the most?
Yeah, I mean, to exactly what you just said, right? The alignment on like the core values and responsibility that that we feel, we owe to our communities, then that we want to just offer them, uh, a safe place to be a part of, right? A community to be a part of that's safe and exciting and fun, and you have friendships and people that you can lean on, and those that you can have conversations with. And I think that's just where again, we just talked last week for the first time. I've been aware of your content, but it made all the sense in the world to try to like partner up here and to do some co-branding content and kind of share some messaging with those of us that are in the hobby here.
Yeah, and I'll say it publicly, like My Card Post is the perfect environment for responsible collecting messaging. Like you're already building an ecosystem designed for fairness.
Yeah.
And so some of the things that we've been discussing, I think, are going to be really impactful to the hobby. Things like co-branded educational content, which you mentioned, featuring My Card Post as a recommended marketplace for our intentional collectors. As you know, we have 2 lanes, one for intentional collecting, one for abstinence. And so we do have many people involved in our community, and we're continuing to grow. So this is only going to get bigger, but we have so many people that still want to engage with the hobby. They still want to purchase cards. They just want to do it more intentionally, more responsibly. So if Collectors MD can equip them with the appropriate tools and resources to continue on that journey and to have a more healthy and sustainable relationship with collecting, it's just a mutually beneficial for everybody, right?
Win-win.
And
Absolutely.
so we also talked about adding you to the Collectors MD advisory board. We had our first official meeting last week, which I think you're going to bring a lot of value to. And I think there's an opportunity for adding some in-platform responsible messaging as well within the My Card Post ecosystem. So from your perspective, why does creating this kind of culture matter for the future of the hobby, specifically the next generation, the young, the impressionable children who look up to these influencers, these creators, these platforms who set the example, right? They are basically outlining what the mantra is. And so we have to make sure that we're looking out for them. So again, from your perspective, why does creating this kind of culture, this content matter so much?
Well, I think there's a couple things. One, oftentimes you only get a couple chances to maybe draw somebody into this industry, if you will, or this hobby, or this joy that we all have around collecting cards. So I feel like if somebody comes in and we just burn them a couple of times really quick, they're gone forever, and we don't want that, right? We want to grow the hobby. We want to bring more people in. We want them to have positive experiences with it so that they can kind of grow in their journey. We all start somewhere, right? Maybe you ripped a random box at Walmart. Like, who knows where you started or whatever got you into this hobby, but we don't want to sting you the moment you come in and you start getting a little bit more intentional with your activity in the hobby. So I think that is one thing. And then I think the other part too is like any of us that are putting out content or growing communities or building social channels in the hobby, like it's important for us to, I don't know, like control our messaging in a way that's appropriate, right? To make sure that we're thinking about, the bigger picture and not just trying to show these, like massive hits and gambling type things and just like ripping irresponsibly and things of that nature. So, I mean, again, it kind of goes to the type of person that I want to be, the type of business person I want to be in the hobby. And, I feel like, continuing to partner here and to share and collaborate is going to be really important to help grow the hobby. And I think that's what any one of us want to see, is the hobby grow and not decline. So,
yeah, well said. There's so many things that are important for the hobby to survive long term, right? Leading by examples first and foremost.
Yeah.
When platforms and creators actually model healthy behavior, things like setting limits, being transparent, treating people fairly. I mean, such a simple human act, but it's crazy that we even have to talk about those things. Treating people fairly, it gives everyone else permission to do the same, especially young kids who again look up to us. So culture changes from that front alone. Then there's the industry just needing more ethical voices, right? Most big voices are, just like we were talking about before, tied directly to revenue. So they can't speak freely about things like harm and predatory mechanics or burnout. And so ethical voices really sort of help fill that gap and say the things that people need to hear, not just what sells. And
Yeah.
then there's building long-term trust, right? Trust is everything in the hobby. Once collectors feel burned, they don't forget. And so things like consistency and honesty and transparency are what keep people coming back. And lastly, it's hobby health over hype. Hot hype burns fast. Like we've seen that happen time and time again. Like how many times has there been a generational athlete or a generational product that has come out that people forget about a couple days or a couple weeks later, right? Health is what lasts long term. So if we want this space to thrive for decades to come, not just trend for a season, we have to prioritize people over profit and sustainability over frenzy, over
Yep.
chaos. And so it's another good segue. I feel like you're giving me alley oops left and right. So the next segment is sustainability without selling out. So one thing we talked about was sustainability, and so how to build something meaningful without selling out to predatory systems. So for you, what does a healthy and ethical business model look like in a space, again, dominated by fees, hype, and casino style marketing?
Yeah, I mean, look, again, I don't ever want to come on here or go anywhere and say my card post is perfect, but I just, for me, in my core, and even, when I decided to go down this path, it felt like the right thing to do. Like if you build something, if you, are focused on being a good, honest business person and you build things for the right reasons, the rest will take care of itself, right? I don't have to, do any like irresponsible tactics or strategies to try to, trick people into, getting on our platform. So, I mean, again, I think if you're just building a platform that is focused around a community, which is what I'm trying to do. And, again, this isn't the biggest community in the world that I've built so far. I'm only 3 years into this. There's other platforms that have way more money than me to be able to go partner with content creators and influencers to help grow their audience faster. I, haven't been able to do that as much. But I think if you build a community and you allow people to connect with each other in a human way, right, which is where we can freely communicate and message and chat and converse and connect on social media, and like, I just feel like that's the way forward here, right? It's like I built my card post almost as like the experience that you'd have at a card show, like as closely as possible, right? Of course, you can't
Right.
shake someone's hand physically, or you're never going to be able to replace like the face-to-face interaction between two people, but the reasons and types of transactions and activity that happen at a card show, I wanted to bring online. And then that's what you'll find on my card post. Any type of deal that you could think of doing in person, you have that opportunity to do that deal on my card post, freely communicate, talk about comps, like, send them to your Instagram to go, I mean, whatever it may be. So I feel like where it's about human and human interaction, collector to collector experiences, freedom to do things any way that they want, that's how we grow this thing, because you're going to grow. The more relationships you have in the hobby, the more fun it is, the more conversations you're having, it just, the whole ecosystem gets bigger for you as an individual. And yeah, so, I mean, that's what I'm trying to do here. And that's how I personally think, we're going to play a role in some of this.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to take time, right? Like there's no denying that building things like community trust built slowly, but when you're doing it intentionally, it's only going to benefit everybody in the long run. And
Yeah.
so on our side, Collectors MD is doing a lot of things with a similar mindset, right? Like we're partnering with state level coalitions. We're teaching curriculum in clinical settings. We're developing responsible collecting modules for breakers and card shops and platforms to eventually adapt. We're building referral networks. We're eventually adding things like Collectors MD branded merch and ethical ad partners and things of that nature. But we understand that this is going to be a tedious process. It's going to take time and effort to grow this sustainably. And so, at the end of the day, I think neither of us are ever going to exploit the people we serve. Like that's the plan, is to never take advantage of somebody's mental wellness or, you
Absolutely.
know, a financial situation. And so,
Yeah.
from your perspective, why do you think the hobby needs more leaders who are willing to take the harder path?
I mean, look, it's hard to answer that. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that are here for different reasons. I just feel like it just depends on who you want to be, right? Like, what kind of
Yeah.
person do you want to be? I mean, there's a lot of really honest, ethical people out there that I think do things the right way. I mean, there's content creators out there that are super generous, super kind, a joy to speak to. People like Kyle, King of the Cards, is an example of someone that I see him out there. His content, it's always genuine and authentic, and
Yeah.
you've seen him give back or restructure deals in a way. It's like, you know what, I bought this thing from somebody and someone paid me way more than I was expecting, and he goes back and gives the guy he bought it from more profit. And I just feel like those are just kind of the little ethical behaviors that people do that, like you said, lead responsibly, be somebody that you would like your kids to follow. And I think that's just what it's no different than professional athletes in sports. I mean, you want to be the role model that you want for your kids. And, so I
Right.
think that's what's important here, is to, be proud of the things that you're doing, be proud of the platforms you're building. I have young kids, but, to be proud of something in the future when they grow up and be like, wow, my dad built that. And I think, those are
Yeah.
the kind of things that we're focused on.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point, because there are a lot of really good people in the hobby. His name is King of Cards, right?
Kyle. Yeah.
Kyle, yeah, he's really, really well respected, and kids look up to him especially. And I always see his content everywhere, and I do agree. I think he sets a great example, especially to children, and gives back in a lot of ways. There's another guy who does the same, very similar. I don't know if you know Brian Friedman, Talon Sports Cards.
Yeah. Yeah.
I met him a couple years ago at the National in Chicago. This was 2023, I believe. Got to hang out with him, have a few drinks with him, get to know each other. And I started following him, started to see his content. He does a lot of giving back and things like this. So what I'm about to show you isn't a means of like calling him out or saying that what he posted is bad per se, because I don't think it was malicious or had any sort of negative intent whatsoever. However, I think, again, there's this lack of education and accountability that people aren't thinking about, like, as part of the content that they're creating. So when I show you this, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So he posted this, I think yesterday, where he was ripping a few hobby boxes of Absolute Football with the CEO of Plaza Las Vegas, right? Like, okay, not a big deal. They're ripping sports cars. They're in a casino. Then this woman comes over and she goes like, "Oh, my son loves sports cards. He's selling them to pay for college," or something along those lines. And so, Talon FaceTimes the son and says, "Here's a free Ashton Genty RPA," right? He's doing that right here. And that's amazing. Like, that's super cool that he did that. But if we take a step back and look at the environment that we're sort of conditioning these children in, they're inside of a casino. Like, what kind of message does that send to kids? Right? Again, it's very subtle, but it's something to consider. It's just food for thought. Like, when we're creating content and we're targeting children and giving to children and doing really amazing things, we need to also be wary of, like, when you flash minus $1,400 on the screen, or you're just you're ripping cards in a casino. Again, like, what message does that send? So again, like, this was not intended to like be a knock on Brian here. Like, he's a really great guy. He's doing a lot of amazing things in the hobby. It's more so of just like, we have to be a little bit more thoughtful and mindful about the type of content we're putting out, and the environment we're putting that content out within, right?
Yeah, I mean, I
Again,
think some of the
yeah,
stuff,
go
it
ahead.
looked like he was with somebody, so that was kind of the setting that he was into. But I think it really kind of comes down to like, what's your body of work? And I don't see that as his body of work. I mean, he definitely is, a lot of his, I've seen a lot of his content, right? It's like card shows with kids, or, like giving, mystery buys. Like, if somebody buys some random weird thing for like $5, we'll give them like a $200 card. So I mean, it
Right. He
definitely
does
comes
stuff
down
like that
to like
all the time. Yeah.
people's body of work. That's what I feel. I don't ever want to like judge somebody on just like one piece of content. But yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, yeah, this is this is the state of the hobby right now. So it's just going to be interesting to see how the next 12 to 18 months evolve. The last 12 to 18 have been pretty crazy, but we'll see.
And again, like, I'm not sitting here saying like gambling or like a casino environment is like the devil, or like, you should never gamble in your life. It's just, again, when we're targeting children and the next
Yeah.
generation, we just have to be a little bit more thoughtful about the context and the setting. That's
Yeah.
all. That's all
Yeah.
it
It's
is.
a good reminder for
Very
all
subtle.
of us.
It's just a friendly reminder is all it is. So,
Yeah.
Brian, if you're watching this or if you come across this, I just want you to know from Collectors MD and from me, Alyx Efron, I do think what you're doing is amazing, and keep doing the great work. I already commented on that post and tagged him and put it on my story, so he's
His
already
content
seen
is
it.
great. As a content
Yeah,
creator, he's fantastic.
yeah, he's fantastic. I just wanted to add that little disclaimer there at the end. So with that, we're going to transition over to our final segment, which is our rapid fire round. So I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You're going to hit me with the first thing that comes to mind. You ready?
Sure.
Okay. The biggest problem with hobby marketplaces today.
I mean, I think it kind of goes back to what we've already talked about, right? Which is, their agenda is their own. You're right. Is their focus is their benefit, and that just means that the collectors come second. I would say that that's probably like the biggest one, is like they're building for their own needs and desires and growth and revenue, as opposed to like really trying to offer something that really benefits the collectors intentionally and wholly.
Right. Well said. One thing the hobby is actually getting right.
I think, I mean, I wasn't at the expo, but I just hear like the hobby is very strong. The community is very strong. People are talking, they're sharing, they're calling out bad actors. So I think the hobby is in a lot of ways policing itself, and I think that can be a very good thing. And I think it's something that the hobby is getting right now. They're sharing, the people and the platforms that are doing good things, and they're calling out the bad actors who are doing bad things. And I think that in of itself is probably very good for the hobby.
Awesome. A feature on my card post you're proud of because it protects collectors.
I think it goes back to, kind of the intention around allowing people to have their own personal card shop, their own home base that has everything about them, not just their inventory, but has their Instagram, their Facebook, their Twitter, their, whatnot page, their, all the other marketplaces, eBay and ComC, and, giving them a place where they can showcase the entirety of their hobby business, along with the reviews and feedback that they're getting with the transactions that they're doing on my card post. I think that's something that actually was a little bit of advice I got from a friend in the early days. And it's something that I think, turned out to be one of the coolest aspects, because again, this is how it's allowing people to connect off platform and build their own followings on Instagram and social media. And that's something I think is pretty cool. And, you don't really find that anywhere else, where, here I am, being this platform that's sharing people's eBay and, Veriswap accounts. Like, I want you to have all of your marketplace. I believe your card should be everywhere. So, I want to give you a place to showcase, your profiles on all these different platforms. And just in case you don't have that card listed on my card post and it's listed somewhere else, like, it's fine for you to go do the deal over there. Like, again, my incentive is not for you to do the deal on my platform. My incentive is for you to have a positive experience.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. The most underrated challenge collectors face today.
I think it's FOMO, to be honest. I mean, I talked about this a little bit, but the conversations I've had with people where they got lost for a little bit, right? They got dragged into the flipping for profit game that, they see people like, I bought this for $1,000. Someone sold it for $2,000. And, I think they start to, go down that path trying to be that person. And then, they get upside down. They find out they're not that good at it. So I think, having it be a little bit of FOMO, and, for them to be able to like kind of just reflect and stop and get back on track. I've seen people take breaks. It was like, hey man, I had to kind of pause for a couple months because I was heading down an unhealthy path that wasn't good for me. And, but now I'm back, I've refined my PC. I moved all that inventory that I thought I was going to flip for profit. And so, yeah, that's not a very quick answer, but yeah.
Well said. And one message you give to anyone who feels overwhelmed by the chase.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to the last question. Like, take a break. Slow yourself down. Take a break. It's okay. Just kind of pause, reset, like reevaluate. I do this myself with my own personal collection. Sometimes I'm like, man, why did I buy these 20 cards? Like, it's not like my core PC. Like, I got kind of caught up in like I had to have it, right? I got to have it. Like, There's a lot of those like gotta have it cards that you see out there.
Always.
Just take a break, slow down, be intentional with your personal collection. If you're buying for profit, then fine, go for it. But if you're like just a collector who does more like, trying to build your own personal collection, like take a break, reset, rethink things, just slow down.
Yeah. Finding that pause is everything. It gives you the opportunity to slow down, catch yourself, intentionally make informed decisions, right? Instead of just acting on impulse and acting on urgency and FOMO and all these different things that every single platform just forces down your throat. And so I think that is so important and really well said. Just make sure that you're taking a moment to pause.
Yeah.
Because people rarely do that these days. Mark, thank you so much for joining me today. What you're building at My Card Post is rare, ethical, intentional, community first. These are all things that we talked about today. And it's exactly the kind of leadership this hobby needs right now. So to everyone listening, if today's conversation resonated with you, if you want a marketplace that prioritizes fairness and community over hype and fees, I highly recommend you go check out My Card Post at mycardpost.com and follow them on Instagram at mycardpost. And if collecting has started to feel overwhelming, compulsive, or out of control, remember, you're not alone. Collectors MD hosts free weekly peer support group meetings every Wednesday from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern. You can check them out and join at collectorsmd.com. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and all major streaming platforms to keep up with new episodes of the Collector's Compass, Behind the Breaks, Collector's MD features, and more. Mark, thanks again for being here and for choosing the harder, more meaningful path for collectors everywhere. I'm Alyx Efron. This is the Collector's Compass. And remember, collect with intention, not compulsion. We'll see you next time.